Hello and welcome to another episode of Squirtified Engineering. I'm Spiritus, and if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing so you can stay up to date with all my different projects. So in this episode we have another general car care segment, and it's time for winter tires. Like most of the stuff I do it myself. And I know that, well, at least me, I'm a bit torn between trying to save as much as possible of the old tires and buying new tires, or even if I should buy second-hand tires, because tires are expensive, but when you think about it, the tires aren't really that expensive considering the damages you can get if you have improper tires, which I had before this episode, or the recording of this episode. But yeah, it will most often feel quite nice after you have new tires on your car. But I am cheaping out a bit. I'm only replacing the two that are, well, they are not really road, they are road legal, but not really, it's not much more than that. So I replaced or installed the winter wheels 2 days before I recorded this, because I had placed the order for the new tires, and I didn't want to go and get my winter wheels, replace the tires and then install them, because then I would need to juggle around 8 wheels. So by doing this I only need to go to the place where I take delivery of the tires, replace the tires on the wheels themselves after removing them from the car, of course, and then I can drive off and only have to worry about 2 old tires. But when I was reaching 100 kilometers an hour, our highway speed here in Sweden is 110 on the highway that I go to on when I'm going to work, and it's like it's not even like skating on ice, because then you have control. Here it's like I'm starting to float, so I couldn't really maintain highway speed, but it was only for 2 days, so it was okay. At speeds on the roads that I took between my work and the place where I replaced the tires, the speed limit is 70, so I didn't have any problems while driving at that speed. But yeah, I will show you the difference between the old tires and the new tires. I think the old tires are the ones that came on the car initially, sorry, or from factory. So they are only 15 years old, and yeah, that's about 3 lifetimes of a tire if you haven't stored it properly, but they've been on a car once or twice per year. Not so good. If you take motorcycle tires, you will definitely feel a difference if you have old and dry tires versus new tires. But then you only have 2 patches of contact between the road and the tire that will keep you alive. On the car it's a bit different, so you can push the limit a bit more. You shouldn't, but yeah. And normally if you drive it like a normal person, then you usually need to replace the wheels within 5 years. Yeah, but I've loaded up with some coffee. So what will be trying to do in this episode is to improve my explanation game. So instead of writing what I'm doing and so on, and making comments in text, I will be talking. So please enjoy. Here you see me undoing the wheel nuts or wheel screws, about 1 turn each, before raising the car up. There was no room at the 2-post or 4-post car lift, so I had to use the normal car jack or floor jack. And I'm lifting my car in the pinch seam. Once up in the air, I can remove the wheel screws completely. With the screws removed, I can take the wheel off the car. I have already removed the valve itself, so I have let out the air of the wheel. And now I realize that there is no compressed air connected to the machine, because it's using compressed air for squeezing the tire off the rim, which you need to do in order to break the seal. And then it's using an electric motor for rotating the wheel holder. I'm going all the way around the wheel to make sure that I break the seal all the way around. I do it from both sides, and since this is just a regular steel rim, it's not so I don't need to be too careful when doing this, although I still am. But it's not as if it's very expensive forged wheels of some sort. So then I can mount the wheel on the machine itself, and I like to use the mount which grips the rim from the outside. If you use the grip on the inside, you will make marks which will just increase the amount of rust on steel wheels. So I prefer this way. So here I have already adjusted the moment point, and I used this lever to pull up the tire onto the helping hand, and now I realize that I haven't broken the seal fully. So as you can see, you can pull quite hard on it without getting any proper reaction. So I need to remove it and break the seal fully. With the seal fully broken, I can now remove the tire completely. So I'm just checking the valve stem, or what is called the rubber thingy holding the valve, to see if it's okay, and I think it was okay. So now it's time to prepare the new tire for installation, and we have this sort of mounting soap. You really need to put on the lid properly every time you've used it, because the water will evaporate. So I usually add a few drops of water, and then I add this soap to both surfaces on the rim as well as on the tire itself. And with this tire, it's important to recognize the rotation. Usually it's quite easy to get the tires on top of the rim. for some reason these were not as easy, so I had to pry them a little bit at a time, and eventually it popped. So then I can use the that helping hand, which is already adjusted for this rim size, and you sort of change the angle, the contact angle on that hand, and then push the tire towards the rim and rotate it, and it will get the tire down onto the rim. After that, it's time to make the new tire seal properly on the rim. So you need to remove the holders, and then you increase the pressure, and yeah, you saw some of that soap being blown away from the compressed air. And at this stage you don't want to have the valve installed, so you pump up the air to about 3 bars to make it seat properly. Usually that's enough, and then you install the valve again and increase or add more pressure. Usually I go to 2.5 bars of air pressure in the tire prior to balancing. So now it's time for balancing of the wheel. It's a normal wheel balancer that I'm using, just making sure that the wheel is centered on the axle, and this machine is dynamic, so all you need to do is get the correct width and diameter of the wheel. That will tell the machine where the balancing weights are going. So once it's spinning, it's determining where your balance is off, so it will indicate it. So currently it seems like a bit too much, and I did try to balance it with the old weights still mounted, so I am now removing them. So I thought that the setup was incorrect, so we have this sort of plastic caliper to measure the width of the wheel. So I'm redoing the balancing, and now I'm locating the proper weights, and the mouth guard is off because it became wet out of sweat. But I'm basically alone here. So now the balancing seems more reasonable. I'm adding the remaining weights. So it's 5 grams off. Usually I'm very picky and correct it, but I don't feel the need here. And then it's time to install the wheel with a new tire. I'm one of those who actually use some sort of anti-seize on the wheel screws. I don't use copper paste, because then you actually put extra material on the threads or contact surfaces. So I'm just using a ceramic spray to stop the screws from rusting. Once back on the ground, I can recheck how tight the screws are, and I will also check them right before leaving, so that I get to drive at least a few meters on them, correct the air pressure, and see the tightness of the screws or the torque. I will also recheck the torque after the first drive, so from here to my home. And then it's time to do the same on the right front wheel. The procedure is exactly the same. So again, removing the old worn tire from the rim. From here it looks like the thread, the tire thread is okay, but believe me, it's not. So I'm using the same setting on that helping hand, and just use the pry bar to get one lip of the tire on top of that helping hand, and then rotate it to get the first lip off, and then just do the same on the second lip. So normally when you're doing multiple wheels, you make the setup for the first wheel, and then you don't need to, then you just reuse that setting for the remaining wheels. But since I had to close the cover for the machine in order to get to the other wheel machine, I didn't want this one to start to spin, so to be on the safe side I turned it off. That's why I need to redo the settings part. I usually like to do one balancing weight and let the machine determine the off balance again, and see if the initial reading is correct or not, so that in case if I install the weight a bit where it's not supposed to be, or a bit off, then I can sort of correct it with the second weight. And then on this wheel it's also a matter of getting the screws on with a bit of ceramic spray. So since it's a 4 screw pattern, you need to be a bit more careful when you're tightening the screws. When you have 5, it's easier to continue to go diagonally. Here it's a bit more, so take it a bit easier. Here you can see the tire that I've selected. It's Continental WinterContact TS860, and it's on stock wheel size 185mm 65% profile and a wheel diameter of 14 inches. I selected these because they were marked as best premium tire in the store, and the few searches that I made came up with pretty good results, or good enough results. Here you can see the old tire, or one of them, and it's not much thread left. You can see that the contact patch is down to the limit, and it's a bit of an uneven wear as well, so perhaps I've been using too high air pressure. And here you have the difference between the old and the new tire before mounting it on the wheel, on the rim. It's quite a difference. Of course I had to wash my Peugeot because it was so dirty, and yeah, I can't drive around like that. And then some post tire replacement car wash pictures. So the front right wheel, a zoom on that, looks kind of nice, especially with a touch of color. Front left side, I even turned on the fog lights, but you can see that there is some reflection in the paint, even though I haven't polished it. It needs a proper polishing soon. And this picture I took after driving to work the next morning, and it was a really nice feeling. It's almost like I want to buy new rear tires just to make it complete all around. But I think this will do for now. So now you've seen me replace the front tires on my daily driver Peugeot 206 Sport. So the big block 1.6 liter engine. But yeah, it's the things that you need to do every now and then, even though it isn't as fun to buy these service parts as there is to buy upgrades. I will try and stay away from upgrading this and instead try and maintain it and perhaps see if I can find a more fun daily driver eventually. I think I would need one with more space. Yeah, hope you enjoyed it, and thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe. Stay safe, take care, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye bye.